So I think I've been pretty open about my background and the fact that I didn't really come from much financially. I don't think we were poor by any means.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'd call myself middle, lower class.
I think I'd probably be in the same boat. Yeah.
Working
for sure.
family.
Yep, absolutely.
Dad was in pharmaceutical sales. Mom worked in like banking. And again, not poor, but I remember my girlfriend's mom had a nice Mercedes Benz. And he was an entrepreneur. He was a business owner. They had some sort of business. But I think I was just young and doing my own thing and had no idea what that meant.
Yeah. No clue.
I think the first time I realized that I was living in a slightly different world, not like economically, but maybe mentally in terms of like how the world works, was actually a business partner I had, someone you know.
Oh, yeah.
Who came from a real estate family.
Yeah.
And I was a young real estate salesperson, selling a lot of real estate and making decent money. But I had a business partner that I got involved with. And they come from a real estate family.
Yeah.
And I just remember spending time with their family, and the conversations were just like a completely different level.
Interesting. Yeah.
It just felt like they saw possibilities. Everything was about building and growing and
Saw
expansion.
the world way differently kind of thing. Yeah.
They saw opportunities where I just thought, well, no, that's a large building that some business must rent.
What are you
And
talking
they were
about?
like, well, we could just go do that. And I was like, wait, hold on. There's another plane kind of existence here.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever had that realization along the way, but it was eye-opening. And so, yeah, long story short, here we are, 20-something years later. We have a business, and I think I've learned a lot about the games that are available.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's multiple different games being played in the world, and I think most people don't even know about
the
the games that exist.
Yes.
And, you know, our agents, our clients, our team members have jumped on board. And I think a lot of them jumped on board to play the sell real estate game.
Yes, they did.
And that's perfectly good. I think it's wonderful to sell real estate. I think it's great to serve clients in meaningful transactions. And I think you can make really, really good money doing that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of our agents, in the same way I didn't, I think a lot of our agents don't understand the other layers of games that are available.
Yeah.
So, you know,
As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, like what are the other options? Yeah.
Specifically as an entrepreneur, there's a whole nother set of games available.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the wealth building game is an interesting topic. We opened this up briefly at our
Golden Circle Lab a few weeks ago. Yeah.
and it was just an intro to where we were headed. But I thought it was worth spending a little bit of time just chatting about this because I do think it's a mind expander. It's something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about the last few years as we've built our business. And I think there's amazing opportunities inside of real estate. But I think the first thing you got to do is recognize the game that you're playing, and understand that there's a whole nother game available to you if you understand the real estate business.
Yeah, I think it's awareness for me. Like you said, like people don't even know. So I think it's like know that it is an option, and then make the choice to be like, okay, that's the game I'm going to play. Yeah.
Well, so we're going to get into the 6 steps to the wealth building game.
Yeah.
But before I go there, there's a few thoughts I think are worth sharing. A couple of things, first of all, that I've learned along the way. The first we're touching on, that getting rich and building wealth are 2 fundamentally different games.
Yes.
Getting rich, I think, is what most people in American society, Western society, dream of.
The get rich quick scheme. I even think of that tagline.
Quick or otherwise.
Yeah.
But rich and wealthy are fundamentally different
Agree.
things. Rich, I think of as having high revenue, meaning you've got access to money, and then you have the freedom to buy material possessions. Rich means you have a big house. Rich means you can buy a nice car. Rich means you have money and you can buy things.
Yeah.
Wealthy is a fundamentally different thing. And I know I'm saying stuff that a lot of you know and understand, but it's worth revisiting for a second. Wealthy is, well, can you define wealthy? Do you?
I would say the difference for me is it's about a better, stronger foundation. It doesn't always look rich, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually smarter. It's more strategic, and it's more about a long-term game plan.
And what is that, though? What is the thing that provides that?
I mean, you have to have revenue, right? To be able to drive that and be smart about your money, understand your money.
Yes, but the fundamental difference isn't the revenue. The fundamental difference is the assets.
Yeah.
So wealthy means you have assets that earn while you sleep.
Yeah. Yep.
That allows you to afford long-term financial freedom. That's what you're touching on. because rich can come and go as revenue comes and goes. But assets that earn while you sleep,
stability,
provides bulletproof long-term revenue capability. So I think you can either be playing the game to get rich, and I don't know, most people are pretty much just shooting in the dark there. They're hoping that working really hard will get them there, or they're hoping that one of their kids makes it to the NBA. Some of us buy lottery tickets, but rich seems to be the principal goal for most people. Wealthy is a much bigger goal and a much better goal.
Yeah.
Most people are playing status games, not wealth building games. And I just had no idea that this wasn't even a category for me as a kid. Like this wasn't something that was open to my thinking.
Agreed.
Obviously, as a kid, I wanted a nice car and I wanted a nice house because we didn't always have those things. But it never occurred to me that there was a whole system, a game that could be played in order to build wealth that was a fundamentally different world. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second is that I've come to recognize, for multiple different reasons, that most people secretly despise wealth.
Yes, the redefining of the word wealth and whether you think of it as a dirty word or not.
Well, culturally, there's a lot of antagonism towards wealth right now because we've got more and more of a class divide building in this country.
Yeah.
And so there's a bigger gap between the wealthy and the not wealthy. Now, the joke is that the least wealthy people in this country are still the top, like 1% to 5% wealthy in terms of the entire world's context.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people despise wealth because they've got some corrupting ideas about it. And they come from lots of different places. One would be some of us with religious backgrounds come at this as like money is the root of all evil, which is not even what it says. It's actually the love of money is the root of all evil. But those two things can be easily mixed together. The other one is that only bad people get wealthy, which is the corrupting idea that's pervaded our culture right now.
Right.
You must be a jerk.
Bad person to get where you are. Yeah.
Which I've got lots to say about because the people saying that are also ordering Amazon products that arrive at their doorstep the next day. So if you really believe that the only way to do that is to be a bad human being, then just stop buying things from Amazon and don't drive a Tesla or whatever.
Yeah.
Different topic.
The
other one is only lucky people. Like you got to be
They stumbled into it or they were given.
Or you've got a great voice, and so you win American Idol, and so these corrupting ideas, I think, give us this antagonistic, cynical view towards the wealthy because they're either generationally wealthy, or they're bad people, or they took advantage of someone, or they're stealing and hoarding all the money and not paying taxes. I think the more you look into that, the more you realize none of that's really true.
Not true.
Most of that's got to do with the fact that you wish you were them, and you just aren't willing to do the work to get there.
Yeah, I think the game, we don't know what we're doing.
You don't know the game.
And then you're not willing to do the work. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. But if you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you, is a quote that I remember from Naval Ravikant, and I think that that's fundamentally true. So let's get into this game briefly.
Yeah.
Here's the game that most people are playing. And they don't even know they're playing this game. The game is you go to school, you maybe get a degree. That's the one we've all been sold on. And then you get a good job, hopefully, which is hard to do these days, but that's the goal.
That's what you do, yeah.
And you buy a house because that's the American dream, fortunately for us in the real estate business. And then you pay all the bills, you invest in a 401k, and then you hope like hell that Social Security still pans out 40 years from now because we keep thinking it might not. And really, that's just hoping that Ponzi scheme doesn't run dry.
Yep.
But that's the game most people are playing.
100%.
And I don't blame them for it. And so when you step out of the time and effort economy into the results economy and you're now in real estate, you shifted how you earn your revenue.
Absolutely.
But you're still fundamentally playing that game. It's like I've got to make revenue so I can pay the bills, so I can afford a house.
A house and a retirement plan, maybe. Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that game. But there is a bigger game available for entrepreneurs. And so I think that's what I want to get into today. There's a few things you need to understand to play this game. One, you got to believe that building wealth is actually attainable, ethical, and prudent.
Yeah.
Attainable. This isn't some pipe dream. I love the book, The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah.
There are people that have built great amounts of wealth that you would never know.
Guess.
They're driving a beat-up Honda Civic. They have a modest home, but they have built a fortune for themselves quietly through just good financial principles.
Yeah.
Ethical. This doesn't have to be something that you're not taking from anybody else. You're creating value in the world.
You can do it in a way of creating value first.
And then prudent is this is worth doing. Mm-hmm. Next thing, you got to learn to play long-term games with long-term people. I love that quote.
Absolutely, me too.
It's so fitting for our style of sales. You got to believe in and understand compounding and the time value of money, because once you see that chart of little Jack that saves just $300 a month since he was 18 versus John that only starts saving when he's 26, you understand the power of compounding over time.
Yeah.
And then I think you got to buy into this idea that most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10, which connects to the compounding thing.
Yeah.
But what I mean is the long-term game of wealth building is not a short-term game.
It's about delayed gratification. I'm like thinking of so many of our other principles that we talk about. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And then finally, there's a formula. And what I like about this little topic, and I'm going to run through these 6 pretty quickly. What's great about this is some formulas, it's like debatable. Well, there's lots of different formulas. There's lots of ways to get a deal. What I'm going to suggest to you here is that this is pretty much, this formula is the formula.
The formula, yeah.
This is how it works as entrepreneurs. I'm not explaining some like get-rich-quick scheme. I'm saying that there is a meta-narrative under the entrepreneurial game that if you want access to, it's there for you. And it's how a lot of people have built long-term wealth that's changed family trees. So let's get into the steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have more to add there before
I think you're exactly right. I just have so many different success principles floating in my head of just all the things that you just said is the foundation to this.
It all connects.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those success principles are connected to this because those are what has to be true in order for this game to work.
And you have to truly believe it, right? And then make the choice to go here. Yeah, I agree.
So here's the 6 steps to the wealth building game. And this is specifically through real estate. Mm-hmm. If you're a real estate entrepreneur, which is our audience, I think this is what you have to do if you want to play a bigger game. Step 1 is you got to get your own house in order. So the game starts by creating a home context where, well, let's just put it this way. You'll never get wealthy
if you don't first do this.
If you can't learn to live below your means.
Yes.
So if the goalposts are always going to be moving, if every time you increase sales and you increase revenue,
we just start spending more.
100%.
Yeah.
Bigger car, bigger house. It's the trap that we're all stuck in because we've been sold. We live in a consumerist society. So you got, the hardest financial goal is to get the goalposts to stop moving.
Yep.
So step 1, get your house in order. And I'd break that down into 3 little micro steps. 1, you got to control expenditure. I'm talking about at the home front now.
Absolutely.
So you got to establish a standard of life that you can actually be content with. Now, look, my truck is nicer today than it was 15, 20 years ago. It doesn't mean you can't I take slightly nicer vacations than I used to. There is a context for expansion and growth, but the get rich game means the nicer car was the goal.
Yes, and it's instantaneous again to get that thing now.
Yes, but the long-term wealth building game sets the nice car aside for a larger objective that has larger implications down the line. So 1, you got to control expenditure as revenue climbs. 2, you got to avoid debt, and this is where at this level I'm a big fan of Ramsey. I'm a big fan of, not because I think he's right about everything, but because he's hitting the nail on the head on what people need to hear.
Savings first, get that debt under control.
100%.
That's why it's step 2 on his,
And then 3 is you got to create buffers. So you got to get your house in order. And a lot of this is covered in a lot of our other curriculum.
Yep, survival to stability, yeah, absolutely.
Create buffers. You got to have insurance, you got to have reserves, and you got to have savings, right?
Yep.
And so step 1, to play the game, get your house in order.
Yeah, and I just keep thinking there is a reason this is number 1. There is no other way to move beyond this
so I'm saying
and go to step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you can't first do number 1.
All the other steps will fall apart.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to ruin it at the foundation.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. This is not like a play formula. This is the formula.
The formula, yeah. There's no other way around that step 1.
So you stepped out of the time and effort economy into real estate and you opened a real estate business. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to call that the revenue making machine.
Yep.
So step 2 in the game, now that your house is in order, you need to go build the revenue making machine. And we're going to call that the goose.
Yep.
So we all know the story of the goose that lays the golden egg. And what you did when you step into real estate, whether you knew it or not, there were other ways to do this, is you bought a goose.
Yep. And that's you.
Maybe you bought an egg.
Yeah, let's start there.
You're the egg, you're the goose. But it's not you. It starts with you. You're the egg and the goose if you stay self-employed. The goal of going from E to S to B is that you start to not be the goose. You start to build some systems and processes that become the goose. The goose is no longer just you. You're building something big and beautiful. Separate topic. But ultimately, the game of business at this level, which is the 50,000 foot level, is to nurture and grow and protect the goose.
Yeah.
Because if you can build the goose in the first 3 years of your business, at first the eggs are just enough to feed the goose.
Yep.
But eventually the goose starts to lay golden eggs.
Yep.
And so there's some delayed gratification that goes into building a business. What I love about this idea is I think it expands the motivation. If all I'm doing is building a business to make money, to spend it, to maybe get a nicer car, that's a game. But when I recognize that if I can nurture this goose and build this thing right, that what I get to do is step 3, which is start to table some of those eggs into assets. I think I start to understand the game of goose nurturing a little bit better.
Yeah, and I go all the way back to just like the first thing that popped in my head, get your leads. I mean, like this, I see so clearly all of these roadmaps that we've built in this survival to significant space, because I'm seeing all the foundational choices that you make to get there. Like, get your leads in order, because that's where you start with your revenue stream in real estate, right?
And it's interesting to recognize that 99% of everything we coach and do here is just about step 2. What we do here as a business is help you build a goose.
Yes.
And train the goose and keep the goose safe.
But I think seeing the bigger game, like where we're going, is the intention. Okay, I get it now. I have a purpose behind these spokes that Angela's telling me I have to do. Yeah.
So, some thoughts here. Don't neglect or eat the goose. That is the story of the goose that laid the golden egg, is they got hungry and then they said, let's eat the goose. And the problem with that is then the goose stops laying eggs. So, everything you've learned here, that we're coaching you, is about this portion.
Yes. And
what happens to most businesses, 90% of them fail. More than that, actually.
Yeah.
It's because they either neglect or strangle or quote unquote give away the goose.
Yeah.
And again, I love what you're saying. When you understand the reason that building a business, it's hard. It's not easy. It takes time. At first, there's not enough revenue. At first, sometimes you don't eat in order to keep the goose well fed.
Yeah.
And I've gone through chapters like that.
I
think 2008, 9, 10, I literally just, now the problem is I didn't have my house in order.
Yeah.
So I kept spending money when the business wasn't able to make money. I didn't have reserves. So get the house in order, but we worked to keep the goose alive.
Absolutely.
During hard times, because we knew that if you can build a great goose, there's going to be the capacity to move to step 3 of the game.
Yeah. Instead of saying, I don't want to do that, Angela, I think you would be more inclined to do the things, to do the hard work.
That's what it feels like for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this third step in the game of long-term wealth building is to begin what was called converting free cash into assets. Now, by free cash, I mean you got to run a profitable business. It has to produce enough revenue to pay you, pay
all your stuff at home,
expenses, and then it has to have excess.
Yep.
Now, it's going to take a while to build a business that has that excess, but everything that we've trained our team on, the money portion of survival significance, is about structuring this so that the business is self-contained.
Yep.
So that eventually free cash can start to come out of this in the form of dividends. Converting free cash to assets means taking golden eggs and turning them into something that isn't now related to the goose. Because here's the problem that business owners face, is that the same thing we struggle with at home is we get more money, so we buy bigger cars. We have the same problem with our businesses. We make profit and we just keep pouring it back into the business. Now, there is money that should come back into the business to grow it. Excuse me. But if we're not pulling money off the table,
and holding it back for something bigger and
converting it to assets, then you're in almost a perpetual Ponzi scheme where at some point the music can stop playing on any business. And so you must understand that first, make sure the goose is safe and never do anything to harm it.
Yep.
But the game doesn't end there. The game is converting free cash into long-term assets. So cash back into your business perpetually is a game of musical chairs. Converting cash into assets means start with real estate. Your own home is a good example of this. And I know there's a lot of stuff in the millennial and Gen Z world right now saying real estate is not a great investment and you should just buy crypto or just bury it all in gold or whatever it might be. Just be careful who you're listening to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Owning your own real estate investment in time, very, very hard to regret that 30 years from now. Rentals is another version of this. Investing slowly but surely in rental properties that grow while you sleep.
Yep.
Is another version of this. Stocks and bonds. You don't need to be some guru stock investor. Simply automate the capacity to put some money. And all you're really doing there is you're buying a piece of other people's businesses.
Yeah.
You're converting free cash into long-term assets.
Yeah.
And if you play that game smart, it doesn't have to be risky. Just buy long-term ETFs that grow while you sleep. And then, alternatives is another version of this. Metals, crypto, art, commodities. I was going to say beware of like NFTs. Chris, you heard me. And then other businesses is the other one to be careful of. There's a point at which you have a goose and it's doing well. You've got extra eggs and you're like, I'm going to open another business or be a part of somebody else's business. Now, again, this is the one that a lot of people get into trouble with.
Yeah.
But look, final thought here. Step 3 of the game is to take money off the table. I hate to use a gambling metaphor because I'm not a big Vegas guy.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to take some of the house's money and set it aside. That's the sure way to win
with it. Yeah.
And recognize money cycling through the business is I've always viewed business revenue and business money as somewhat volatile. You never know what can happen there. But money slowly but surely, patiently and intentionally converted into assets that earn while you sleep is the necessary next step to long-term wealth building.
Yeah, I agree. And I see like business reinvesting in the business. And so actually I thought of people. Would people be an asset in this category? I mean, that's a genuine question back to you because business reinvestment, I first think about maybe reinvesting in a way that you take the first step to have somebody else that can help you grow even more? Do you think that's more about?
I think it's part of step 2.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's
more
part
about
of
the goose. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose in a way, if I want to play that metaphor out, that's just like expanding, like getting 2 goose.
Yeah.
Or like building a bigger goose house.
Okay.
Or investing in someone then that comes and feeds the goose every day. But I think that's all related to the revenue building machine.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Money, because all that is, again, volatile. When I pull money off the table and buy a long-term asset.
Real estate, whatever. Yes. Okay.
And this is back to the spreadsheet we showed everyone at that Golden. I'm looking forward to covering that and teaching that sometime soon. But like the long-term pro forma assessment of real estate assets as they grow. Part of the struggle with all of this is developing a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year mindset. Most of us just don't have the capacity to do that. In hindsight, we're going to look back and go, oh my gosh, if I was just little Jack and I'd taken $300 a month and converted it into stocks, I'd be a multimillionaire.
Yeah, or if I would have just bought that rental property at that whatever.
It's
absolutely.
not that hard. It doesn't have to be massive amounts of money. It has to be steady and it has to be compounded over time.
Yep.
So the fourth step in the game of long-term wealth building is shifting your attention to now, I really said, protecting and optimizing your assets. So if in the first 20 years of your career, all the focus was on how do I make sure that the goose stays safe and lays eggs and grows.
And
then I slowly but surely
those first
converted.
assets.
There's a point 10, 15, 20, 30 years into your career where a significant amount of your attention now has to be reprioritized towards, wait, there is a pool of assets here that have actually started to compound. Now, a lot of you, like me, as a young man, would look at that and go, yeah, that's just a pipe dream. Like, that's not a real thing. Except this is the journey that every wealthy individual that didn't inherit it
went on.
This is the journey they traveled on.
Yeah.
And compounding is a real thing. And so if you're willing to play the first 3 steps, there will be a time where some of your effort now gets reoriented towards, well, how do I make sure that I've got proper insurance allocation across these assets? How do I make sure that I'm structuring them in such a way that I'm minimizing my tax exposure?
Implications, exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
And then even financing is a component of this. And again, this is a different podcast, but as we think about our rentals,
Yep.
I love this debate. I'm having it with Thomas a lot right now, among other people. Ramsey
would say pay it off.
Buy the rental, pay it off.
Off.
That is a beautiful, safe game. And if you do that every couple years, you buy a rental, and after 5 to 10 years, you manage to pay it off because you got a goose that's laying amazing eggs. Good for you.
Yep.
You will be safe and secure.
You have a good foundation with your assets, yeah.
There is a point at which that's just a bad use of money, to be perfectly honest. And leveraging that property back up to, let's say, a 50 or 60% ratio and using that money to invest in another rental that will also be earning while you sleep
mm-hmm.
is really a more prudent game. And this is just a whole nother game of raising a goose. It's just a different goose.
Yep.
And so
it's the wealth building goose instead of like the revenue goose. I mean, almost, yeah.
Correct. And I just want to keep saying how much more accessible this is to people than what they think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have patience and delayed gratification. The final 2 steps are just that our goal as business owners, we talk about this a lot, but the goal of building passive income. And I have a love-hate relationship with that term because it is ultimately what you want to do. I mean, the goal of buying stocks, the goal of buying rentals, the goal of structuring all the steps of the game that we've played so far is that at some point, if we decide to cook the goose,
we have another stream.
We have assets that provide passive streams of income.
Yes.
Whether that's stocks that spit out dividends like a 401k would do one day when you retire, whether that's properties that provide passive rent, cash flow.
Yep.
Or even a business profitability where you're no longer in your business as much and it is now providing free cash flow for you through that. Those are all forms of passive revenue as a function of assets that you've built. And all I want to say on this is there's a lot of this is about timing. So when you get to this place in the game, again, back to the financing game, the optimization game, there's a point at which you want your 10 properties that are fully paid off just there spitting out rent for you.
Yeah.
I don't think you want that when you've still got 10 to 15 years of career left because there's a
different level, right? A level shift there.
Well, there's free cash flow from passive rent is all taxable.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And so part of what makes real estate so powerful along the way is that we can write off the depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
We can also write off the interest expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're playing the game smart, back in the protect and optimize phase, you're timing very, very intentionally when we really want to have a lot of passive revenue coming in because passive revenue is going to be taxed at a pretty high tax rate. So there's a timing component of that. But the final step, and this is what you hear a lot right now on TikTok, as people are bashing billionaires, is they're like, yeah, these people don't even pay taxes. That's completely untrue. They're paying billions and billions and billions of dollars of taxes. But they are paying lower tax rates in terms of their net effective rate. And so the reason that they're able to do that is if you can spend 30, 40 years of your life nurturing a goose, keeping your house in check, buying assets along the way, creating passive revenue by leveraging and optimizing that correctly, you can get to a place where these assets are able to be leveraged for income without having to sell the stocks, without having to sell the houses, without having to refinance them, simply by creating really lines of credit against those assets. So you hear this a lot right now. The wealthy live on debt. And what that means is the super wealthy have built a portfolio of assets. It doesn't need to be billions.
Yeah.
But if you can build a portfolio of assets, you can finance revenue against those. And so this is a little technical. Debt is a killer early on in the wealth building game. Debt is actually a resource,
something to be leveraged
later on.
Yeah.
And so that's the 6 steps. 1, you've got to get the house in order. 2, you've got to build the revenue making machine. Welcome to Century 21. That's what we help
you do. Yeah, absolutely.
But I want everyone to understand that part of our goal for everyone that's here is to learn to build a better business so that you can convert those eggs into long-term assets.
Yeah.
That is the long-term game. When you do that, more and more of my conversations are around helping people think through what are they doing with those assets? And I'm not a financial advisor. You should get one.
Yes.
But I love that I get to play a part in helping people see how their business connects to a bigger game.
Yeah.
Protect and optimize. The goal is passive income. But be careful, because the final goal actually is to learn to be smart with these assets that we've built. And you can actually create a less tax exposed world where you can use your assets to create leverage and loans and live off tax-free money.
Yeah. I think my takeaways on all of this, as I was like, just go rereading these 6 steps, was also just have good people, like have people that are slightly ahead of you. Like, I mean, like you, like you're a good resource for people. This is where having even just a really good CPA who understands how to help you think through this, a really good financial advisor who understands the game you're playing and what you actually are intending to do.
Some of them do, and some of them
yes,
don't.
but that's why I feel like you need to find people that actually know the real estate specific, the entrepreneurial specific game that you're trying to play, and have really good people in your corner or people that are slightly ahead of you.
Well, and you don't need to get ahead of yourself. I think that a lot of winning in life is about just knowing where you're.
Absolutely.
All you need to do is like jump in a helicopter or climb a mountain and just look a little bit to where are we headed. But you don't need to focus too much on that. Given that clear sense of direction simply helps you play a better game early on, because I know what I need to pack. I know which direction I'm headed. I know what to bring.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe what I'm hoping to achieve by this. One, I'd like to inspire people to recognize what's possible.
Yes.
I'm an immigrant that came here. I had no freaking clue about building wealth. I can tell you my financial acumen was 0 or negative. I knew how to get a credit card. I knew how to swipe it. And I don't blame anybody for that. I think my parents didn't have that acumen either. I just don't think people get taught this stuff.
It's not taught,
I can tell you that without a lot of smarts about this, I just built a good goose. And if you can, the real estate world is magnificent.
Such a great
the
vehicle for all of
revenue
this.
Is amazing.
Absolutely.
And if you're willing to do the hard work, recognizing the longer term game, and then you can be diligent about keeping your house in order. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to be diligent and disciplined about taking money off the table and converting it to assets. The rest will really take care of itself. You can worry about how to optimize your assets once they start building and compounding. Yeah. So I hope that people can be inspired by that, because I'm blown away. I'm blown away by what's possible.
Yeah.
We've bought a lot of rentals over the years, and at many different times, they just look like they suck.
You're like, why are we doing this?
Why am I dealing with tenants?
Yes.
Why am I?
Yes.
Today I can confidently tell you why. I can tell you because if you have assets that just slowly but surely earn while you sleep, compounding is a powerful and magical force. And I just hope that people can understand that there is a bigger, maybe more exciting, bigger game that you can choose to be a part of. And I really just would like, maybe I'm speaking to me 25 years ago.
Yeah,
I think
like
that's
you want to pour into the people that can just see the possibility, the excitement of the possibility of what they can go do with their businesses.
And it's there and it's available, and we want to help. And fundamentally, we're a real estate sales company. And so we really want to help you with your goose.
Yeah.
But man, I love the idea that we can inspire people to recognize that, I'll say one final thing. Why? Like, why is an interesting question, because I think that's back to the corrupt thoughts. Mm-hmm. I've never actually wanted to be rich. I like the idea that I can buy a new truck every 2 years.
Yeah.
What I really wanted was freedom.
Yes.
And I think that's what this conversation's all about. And that's how we
it allows you to then go do the bigger things, your freedom twos. Yeah.
Passion, pleasure, and purpose. All of this is about being freed up from a hamster wheel. And we can be cynical about people that are there and that they pay slightly lower tax rates on average, just billions of dollars. Or we can get to work going like, wow, what an amazing world, what an amazing industry, what an amazing country. I get to go build something that can produce freedom of time, freedom of relationships, freedom of
time, money and purpose.
Money and freedom of purpose. And I think what I want to close with is, the purpose. For me, a lot of this was about the capacity to go and invest my time and energy where I really felt like I was making an impact and a difference. Mm-hmm. I think everyone's got a different driver.
Yeah.
I know I wanted to change my family tree. I think I did. And so whatever your driver is, know that more freedom and more wealth, whatever tapes you may have in your head today, that tell you that that's only for dirty people, I can tell you that you, whoever you are today, with a bunch of assets that earn while you sleep, you're just a more capable version of you. And so if you want to go do big, beautiful things with that, you're more capable and powerful with wealth than you are without.
Yeah.
So don't be cynical about it. Go choose to make it happen for yourself.
Go choose to make it happen. Yeah, I'm just so excited to get this in everyone's hands. I think it's a really good lens, and they just need to know the steps to see the possibility. I think that's the most exciting thing for me on all of this. Yeah, see what's possible.
I really am grateful. I'm grateful for this industry. I stumbled into real estate. I don't know. I think some people had more intentionality than me, but it's a good business, and I think the future can be bright if you want to make it that way.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for letting me share this.
Yeah, it's so good. I when you shared this with me, it just like opened up so many aha moments for me, and we're seeing people do this, which is the more fun part too.
It's incredible what a lot of our agents have done, and but it's taken time, and they've been diligent and patient. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's easy to be, I think proud is the right word.
Absolutely.
Of where some people's businesses are at this point. So
yeah.
Anyway, good work. Thank you.